I want to see who's making all that noise. This guy right here. Anyway, doing a little different angle today just because I happen to have on, I don't know if this is through like Tubi or Pluto TV. It's like through one of those things because I don't have cable. But I am getting this Martha Stewart channel and it's like all gardening stuff right now. So I thought for some added little benefit that you guys might be able to see some of the nice gardening stuff while I go through this reading today. So it is horribly hot outside. I'm really hoping some relief comes through because it is pretty downright miserable. I happened to be outside working on my camper when the mailman came by and he already looked miserable and it was only like 10 in the morning, you know? So I was like, next week I think it's supposed to be better, which is supposed to get back down into the 80s. So anyway, yes, it's July, the hot month. Ooh, we're all hot and spicy. Yeah. Spicy food, not necessarily spicy temperatures. Okay, because yeah, I think our heat index tomorrow is going to be 104. So if you don't think it can get hot other places than the desert, you're wrong. And I mean, there's people from California that here struggle because we have like the humidity and stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not all the same, you know, and then you have the intensity of the sun, which obviously, rotation of the planet and the angle, that's what gives us the summer month, right? Is when we are tilted towards, right, the sun, okay? As our solar year makes it 365, right? Because this is not a leap year, right? 2026 is not a leap year. Hello, hello. Thank you for the compliments there in the chat. Okay. Again, July. I didn't do a reading yesterday, but this was from the Farmer's Almanac desk calendar that I have for yesterday's, and I thought these were nice. So, birthstone ruby. I think a lot of people know that about July. I mean, ruby, emerald, diamond are, you know, up there as, you know, sapphire as the top, you know, say stones, most expensive stones, and ruby, you know, the July babies lucked out on that one, right? You know, mine's blue zircon. You know, what are you gonna do? What are you, or zircon, however you say it. But the color looks good on me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not really a red. I mean, everybody has a shade of red. That's what they say. Somebody all the way from Russia. Wonderful. Right here, I'm in the Midwest, United States. Thank you. I just got it trimmed the other day, and I had it kind of pinned up a little bit when I went out and did an errand, so I didn't have to get cleaned up again because again it is just murderously hot outside. So do see how they have these little interludes on this channel? It's like it's not all commercial. Some of it's just like showing pictures of her garden and stuff around her house and stuff. I thought that was kind of neat. Okay. Birth flowers, the larkspur and the water lily. Pictured here. This obviously is the water lily, so this must be the larkspur. I don't know that I've ever seen a larkspur in person. One of my sunflowers is about to bloom, by the way. It's already open just a little bit, but it'll get better. Somebody says you're tired of working. I'm 21, have to work and study every day. Yeah. Well, keep at it. Right? Don't give up now. You know, and honestly, if you're working and studying every day, you're ahead of the game because there's people that don't know how to do that yet, that are way older than you and grown and supposed to know how to do that stuff. Somewhere in New York they are right now. It's just going loose. So nice. She has those big, you know, like the big purple ones that are like this that look like just a big bowl. That's what they were just showing some of those. Oh my heavens. What the heck is that? That's some kind of mansion estate. Okay. Can you imagine how many people it takes to run that thing? Okay, yeah, larkspur and water lily. Notable birthdays. Yes, this is what I found interesting. Okay. You're welcome there in the chat. As a reminder, do please be kind to others if you are in the chat today. Please do like the video if you're in the chat, and it is 100% free to like the video or subscribe. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. Okay? So on the 15th, just a couple days ago, the artist Rembrandt, this gnarly dude right here, was born. Wasn't he one of the ones that Bill and Ted brought back in the first movie for their assignment? When they dial up the year, right? In the phone booth. Hey, man, we need the pass so we can get out of San Dimas, right? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. There's the line in that movie. It's one of the, the Mike Myers movies. The Spy Who Shagged Me movies. And there's that one scene, they say, who does number 2 work for? I know, a little bathroom humor, but yeah. So maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know. Hopefully you don't have that stuff that's going around from the produce, the lettuce outbreak. You know what I mean? So that would be unfortunate. Okay. Continuing on, actor Benedict Cumberbatch for the ladies on the 19th. Let's see. That will be on World Cup Championship Day. I wonder who he's rooting for. England, do you think? Wait, England's out of it. So who is left? Argentina versus Spain. Yeah. Right? Because didn't Spain beat France? Right? I'm only loosely following. I was thinking there was a match today, but it's the finals. The third place match is tomorrow, and then the final on Sunday, which that makes sense. And then more people are able to watch and attend and all those things. Okay. Anyway. For the young hip crowd, actress and singer Selena Gomez on the 22nd. I don't know. Do you guys feel like Selena Gomez is she millennial or Gen Z? I don't know. She's younger than me, so I'm not like if I heard a Selena Gomez song, I might recognize it. You know what I mean? She's a very she always looks very pleasant, doesn't she? She just always has a nice little, just looks pleasant. Anyway. I'm sure she's charming. And then finally, some of the older generation, or if you've seen the movie about her life, I believe, where Renee Zellweger plays her, the famed author, Beatrix Potter. Okay. On the 28th. Okay. Just rounding out at the end of the month. So, some little July tidbits for you guys that I thought were kind of nice to share. Okay. All right, I'm going to get into this reading here. You know what I mean? It's like not whatever, but Isn't that what Shakira says? Well, to be together, I'll be there and you'll be there. She does that whole thing. How do you think they came up with it? Is that just how she sings normally with that one line? How it kind of, or did they do an effect on it? And they were like, hey, that kind of sounds cool. You know what I mean? I'm curious myself a little bit. because it's very, I mean, for just like a pop song, that's something that kind of stands out to me. Anyway, rain, cleansing, purification, hydration. Yeah, stay hydrated in this hot weather. Hopefully, we get a little bit of rain. That would be nice. That would be very, 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 very nice. Okay. So, happy Friday. Happy weekend. You know, hopefully you can get outside and enjoy it like Martha is in this, giant garden here. Okay. Ooh, potion. Invigoration, empowerment. So yeah, as you're staying hydrated, some people infuse their water with lemon, right? So citrus with berries, okay? The fruits, cucumber, things of that nature. It's also a good way to get through your produce, right? If you're like, I just can't eat another slice of cucumber salad, whatever. Put it in your water, right? You have to drink water anyway, okay? Things like that, okay? There's also a really good YouTube channel. I think it is called, because I shared it on my Feel Better Guru channel, which is linked in my main About Me. My other YouTube channels are linked in there for anybody who's looking for not a reading today. But I think it's called Living Well with Harold. And his story is that he, basically eradicated his cancerous diagnosis that he had through, the power of nutrition. Okay. I know other people that have drastically altered their lifestyle and they are surviving today. Okay, similarly as this Harold guy did. So if you haven't seen him and if you're interested in topics like that, I would definitely go check him out because he has all sorts of 7-day, green juice challenge, all sorts of different recipes that are out there. Obviously, I think by now he's gotten popular enough that he's released like a book or something, but he has a lot of free recipes and, videos where you can see exactly, what kind of juicer he's using, what kind of fruits and veggies he's using, what quantity he's consuming, and how often, and all of those kinds of things that are very important, right? Okay. Because with any, and I'm not saying this is medical advice or anything, but just take for example, like even people using ibuprofen, right? There's instructions, okay? Saying every 4 to 6 hours or something, things of that nature. So, having the right information about what's going to make you better or feel better, okay, is going to be empowering. All right. And then once you're able to do that stuff, right, you're going to start to feel invigorated. Okay. Which reminds me, I forgot to take my CBD today. So, which might explain why I'm feeling just a little bit sluggish aside from the weather. And I have to say, I did think I got a touch of that contaminated lettuce. And because it wasn't this morning, but the other morning, I had all this list of things to do, but, life had other plans. And I had abdominal cramping. I was running to the restroom. And it was like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm glad I'm not out somewhere having this emergency. You know what I mean? So, and I would say it lasted for, a few hours. And I just rested in the morning. And then I've been trying to carefully hydrate myself and not eat anything too harsh. And honestly, like most of the day today, I hadn't had much of an appetite. I've just been sipping on, some drinks that have a little bit of calorie in it, to keep my sugar from crashing, right? Before I was ready to, start to consume whole foods again. Okay. So unfortunately, I don't know about you guys, but, when that stuff happens, then it's like, oh, well, now I don't want to eat that same kind of veggie or fruit or, it kind of turns you off of that kind of food group a little bit. But, if you just give your body a little bit of time to reset and it's like, you know, it slowed me down a little bit, but today I feel a lot better, but the heat is just crazy out there. It'll take it out of you. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Trunk. Look at that. And there's a little owl in the tree trunk. Did you guys ever watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Right? Didn't they have an owl? And who was it that lived in the tree? I can't remember. That was a long time ago. I'm watching that show. All right. Stability, loyalty, and reliability. Also looks like there's some fungi growing off the tree trunk. So, collective, some of you could be interested in foraging. Okay. Living off the land type of thing, being very rooted. Remember, a trunk can also be hollow. So when it says stability, loyalty, reliability, or, when you're getting the watermelon, they say, look for the hollow sound, right? And that's, or, on a cantaloupe, that's what's going to make it be ready. Okay. Yeah. And again, if you're taking care of yourself from the inside, right, that's what helps provide that stability. Okay. So again, as the weekend approaches, maybe you're going to go hit some farmers markets. I'm probably going to go do that myself. I haven't been to one in a while. And honestly, there was folks out at one of my local ones on a Monday. I couldn't hardly believe it. I saw that. I would have drove by sooner if I knew that. But I was on my way back from finishing my errands and I saw that they were packing everything up and I'm like, wow, it's Monday, but it's the season, eat in season. And that's gonna, make your tummy happy, and that's what they call, your torso, your trunk, right? Okay. Some people say junk in the trunk, right? Snow, rest, contemplation. Okay, so you might be wanting to get inside and turn on the air conditioning, right? Make sure your freon level is all good to go, right? So again, yeah, like today I had some work early this morning and everything was, pretty much done by almost lunchtime, but I was like, okay, I'm not ready to eat yet and it was still I needed to cool down from all that heat. So sometimes, giving yourself that time and then I woke up, I kind of laid down for a little while and then I woke up this afternoon. It's like, oh, now I'm starting to get my appetite back. Okay. So just changing your environment. Okay. Well, it's a little early to be starting to think about Christmas, but there are a lot of Christmas in July themed things that happen, and I think it's just in part because of the weather. Okay. All right, broom. Sweep, sweep, sweep. Energy clearing, freshening, yes. Personally, I like to burn incense. Palo, you can do Palo Santo, sage. Incense is a real easy one though, because then you can have a little incense burner and it collects every. It's a pretty safe way to burn if you don't do candles or whatnot. But people think of spring cleaning, but as you get busy with summer and stuff and then it's like all of a sudden the house looks like a tornado went through it and it's like, okay, maybe you need a reset, right? And if you're like me, you don't want to be doing it during the heat of the day. So I might be running the sweeper at 8 p.m. or doing laundry at 10 p.m. Because why? It's cooler. It's easier to move around the house. I've already eaten for the day, so I've replenished myself. Don't let somebody else's schedule dictate how you maintain, okay? So, and that's going to help you clear your energy, okay? Maybe you might be, again, with the consuming of the fresh fruits and veggies, um, and you know, make sure you wash them as well. Like that Harold on his channel, he does a vinegar. I think he does a part vinegar rinse on his, which you know helps kill, I believe, bacteria and things of that nature. So, um, you know, lots of things that you can do where people think that, oh, how do I clear my energy? This is going to be complicated. It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. Washing your hands, sweeping out the dust, keeping your front stoop clean. Well, I was just vacuuming up dog hair. You might be like, don't you vacuum up dog hair almost every day? Yes, I do. But this was more like the deep clean, right? Where it was like, okay, in this corner over here, I don't clean every day. Over here, I don't clean every day. You know, things of that nature. Okay. Just like my one dog, she just got a she just had a grooming appointment, so you know she's fresh from her summer bath, and you know all that that entails. So sage. Okay, you might be somebody that likes to grow herbs. Okay, wisdom, purification, and harmony. Personally, I enjoy the smell of sage. Again, we were just talking about sometimes people burn sage, right? The dried sage, um, to kind of clear out the energy. They use it, you know, in place of incense, in place of candles, things of that nature. Okay. All right. Seeds, new ideas, hope, open mindedness. All right. So, I'm not saying get prepared for harvest season now, but okay, I was already deadheading some flowers the other day, and it's like I didn't have a pack, you know. I was like, oh, I should probably be putting these in a jar, right? You know, so I have those seeds for next season, right? So I can do something of that nature, right? um some people start their plants from seeds versus buying them. You know, that can save money. And some people be like, oh, well, why don't you just go buy it? Well, you just saved yourself some money, and if you have the time, why not? Right? Um, Kind of like, you know, these days, I know rent gets really high for people and things like that. Now, obviously, when I was renting, you know, one of my first apartments, that was many years ago, and prices have changed. That being said, I was paying that in rent, and after a while, it was like, well, I can continue paying this in rent, or, you know, I can go to the bank, apply for that loan, become a homeowner, and be paying the exact same amount a month. You know, what was different? Oh, I had grass to mow. You know, I mean, yes, there's things that come up, of course. But you know, who's ever heard a story about a not perfect landlord that doesn't want to fix things? Okay. And you have to have renter's insurance anyway, right? So sure, you have to have homeowners insurance, but you know, just saying, you know, people see on these, you know, on these channels, they see these huge estates, or you know, on some of these you know, home buying, you know, HGTV shows, you know, they show these really really expensive properties, and you know, some of those people are working up to that, right? They don't just start at that level. Okay. So you know, compared to what I the purchase price on my current home, my first home was like a third, you know, of, you know, so but as I made more money and got promoted through the company and things of that nature, I was then able to expand on my lifestyle a little bit. So you know I just see people talking about some of these things, and I'm not saying that home ownership is for everyone. Some people are limited in what they're able to do, say physically and things of that nature, and it might not be the absolute best. But there's also condos, there's also townhouses. There's some that even don't have crazy HOAs. you know um so whereas first hearing about an HOA for at least a condo or a townhouse, that's one thing, right? Then hearing about HOAs for neighborhoods, and it's like, I'm not on a zero lot line. You know what I mean? Like, this is my property. So luckily where I live, the HOA is not so much intrusive, although there are, existing bylaws and things of that nature. But I've yet to experience in my 10 years of living here a super adverse effect. Plus, our HOA is, tiny fraction of what I hear on some of these other YouTube channels, which is damn near frightening. So, just take that into consideration based upon what I said about home ownership, because I'm in the situation where I'm not paying an exorbitant HOA fee, although I am paying a very high amount to the local property tax bureau, right? And my house that only cost a third of my current property, right? Obviously, the taxes were a lot lower, for something like that. And they were escrowed into my monthly payment. So there was no, every 6 months there was some surprise bill. No, it was all escrowed into my mortgage and taken care of. Okay. I mean, you do have to go and check those things every now and then, and they should be sending you letters to say, we paid the county, right? Because in the state where I live, I believe they're fighting to against it. Where I live, a lot of people can do property tax sales and then obtain the property without, say, the actual homeowner knowing, due to this 30-day rule or something. Anyway, and I'm not trying to defend delinquent property owners, but in some cases, and in many cases, and in some cases, there's politicians that are even in jail right now in our state because they were taking advantage of some of these property tax laws and loopholes designed to keep the bureaucrats in power. Okay? So if you don't know what a bureaucrat is, maybe add that to your vocabulary list for the day. Okay. Continuing on. Alrighty, let's get some meditation cards. Maybe the World Cuppers will appreciate some meditation cards because they might be having some anxiety or stress regarding the upcoming matches, right? And some people will be like, how can you watch soccer? It's so boring. Well, America's pastime is baseball. And sometimes we'll have a game that's 1-zip, 3-2. I mean, that's very common in baseball. So, sometimes I wonder when people speak, it's like, what was that, Chris Tucker? You understand the words that are coming out of your mouth? But some people, it's like they just open their mouth and all of a sudden just, any old thing comes out and it's like, yeah. Some of us like to think first before speaking. Okay. Alrighty then, light worker. Light worker. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So, as you're taking care of yourself with your potions, okay? So, internal and external, right? Maybe you're using castor oil, maybe you're using coconut oil, maybe you're doing something like that, right? And, lotion, la 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 la, la, and you're like, yeah, shine, right? Like Riri, shine bright like a diamond, okay? So, and collective, when people see how that impacts you, they want to know what you're doing, right? Um, for me personally, not working a desk job anymore has been good for my overall stress level, my overall health, my eating habits. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever do that. I'm just saying that those things have effects on your body, right? And I think they say, so if you do have a desk job, that you should exercise like a minimum, I think, of like an hour to offset the effects of just sitting. We're made to move, we're made to be active, right? Contemplation. All right. So as you're looking up at that tree, contemplating, what are you contemplating about? Okay. So contemplation could be done alone. Yes. Could be done in nature. Yes. Could be done in the early morning hours, the early evening hours. Yes and yes. Some people could be like, I don't have time for contemplation. I have kids. I got a partner. I got a job. I got a la 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 la, and that will continue unless you take that time and say, this is my little me time, right? To contemplate things. And maybe you use that time to meditate. Maybe you use that time for prayer. Maybe you use that time for, journaling and reflecting. Nourishment. Again, glowing from within. As I was talking about earlier, what you put in, and this isn't just, about what you're eating. It's not just, your skin cream. It's also, what are you reading? What are you watching on television? What are you watching on the internet? Okay. I remember a time when, you didn't talk to strangers, especially strangers from the internet, let alone, people are like, I met my boyfriend on the internet, right? Now it's very common. Okay. So, I feel like giving yourself this time, collective, you're going to start to understand how maybe malnourished you might have been and how easy it actually is to become nourished. Does that make sense? Okay. Because at the end of the day, right? Say if you do have a partner, if you do have children, even your pets, if you can't take 5 minutes for yourself to do, whatever your contemplation ritual is. Yeah. Yeah, there might need to be some light shed on that situation. Like, how can we resolve that? Okay. So, and sometimes it's just that little amount that you're like, okay. I mean, what's that? The Jeremiah Johnson meme, recently passed on Robert Redford, where it just zooms in on me. He's just going like, yeah. And where did he live at? He, I know he's not, everyone's political favorite. Okay. But, what he chose to do with his money was not, necessarily live in a city. It was to go out and live on a ranch, right? Out in Montana. And, he was still making films, but he was still nourishing himself with a life, right, that he was building. Not a life that somebody else wanted to build of him on a screen. Okay? And now, stay with me, collective. Okay? So, how do I relate to Robert Redford? Blah, 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 right? We all do in that way because we're all playing a part. Okay? But is it a part that someone else wrote for you? Okay? Or are you writing your own script? Okay? So, and the more rested you are, again, like right now, do I look like I was ill? I think I look pretty good considering I was, being dehydrated a little bit over that lettuce. Thank goodness I didn't have more of it, but do you know what I'm saying? You'll come to find once you start putting that into practice that, where it's like, normally I would be upset right now. Normally I might be irritated. Normally that heat would be really bothering me, right? But, if when you get home and you don't have to wear those restrictive clothes or, whatever it is, right? And you start nourishing yourself and it's like, oh, I feel better now. Thank you. That's why I put that on my other channel, Feel Better Guru, because it's like, we don't always feel our best all the time, but can we feel better than we are currently? I mean, I don't think we really need to add that to deep thoughts. That seems like more common sense. Okay? That's a really interesting question. If you could receive any Christmas gift, what would make you the happiest? I have no idea. I feel like I've already received some really cool Christmas gifts, especially growing up. Like 1 year I got my strawberry shortcake dollhouse as a kid. I mean, boy, oh boy, was that pretty neat. You know what I'm saying? And it provided me with endless hours of entertainment. It wasn't getting an iPad or a television or whatever. I mean, where we lived at, there was hardly anything on TV anyway. You had to go to the video store if you wanted to see anything good, right? Or with swear words in it, right? Dream work. All right. Collective, some of you could be having some vivid dreams at this time. That could be part of this energy clearing. Sometimes that happens, right? When we go through the work, we do the process, and then it's like things are breaking loose. Okay, so having those dreams is part of a natural release. It's part of a natural chemical release, right? So you can read about REM sleep and the dream state and how deep sleep and dreams impact your body and things of that nature. But it's your brain, right, doing that internal clearing while you're sleeping, right? Like, you don't have to do a thing. Okay? But it's working for you so that you can wake up refreshed. Okay? For some of you, you might want to do some dream journaling. That is one of the first things that I ever did Started analyzing my dreams when I was younger because I would have some very vivid dreams, sometimes disturbing. Sometimes, if I was on a certain medicine, like an antibiotic, I'm one of those people that would have wild, wild dreams that I'm like, I could still remember to this day. And they were like not pleasant. You know what I mean? But then we have dreams like, when you're flying, or when you see somebody in the dream. Right? And then you're like, oh boy, what is that supposed to mean, right? Guidance. So don't be afraid to ask your spirit team, your behind your religious beliefs as well for guidance, okay? If you're a follower of, the Bible or whatnot, because I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, you can't get it from religion. Sure you can. And there's plenty of people that do every day. That doesn't mean it's for everybody. That's why in this country we have freedom to choose. Okay? So, part of that collective is going to increase your wisdom here. It's going to increase the sage-like properties within yourself. Okay? And a lot of people say, oh, remember when we had the wristbands where they say WWJD? Okay? But some people, right, we would be like, oh, well, what would Martha Stewart do in this situation, right? Maybe you're in the kitchen and you're like, you know what I mean? Some people, if they don't have the exact ingredients for that recipe, it's like they just shut down. It's like inoperable, okay? Others of us know, right? And we can ask our guides, we can, go back to what we've learned, all right? Or think, like, what would Martha Stewart do in this situation? Oh, well, when I was watching her make French toast the other day, okay, she was talking about, adding milk or cream, and she said that her mother did whatever was on hand, right? There was no Instacarting a new product, right? Just so we could make that dish. Okay. All right. Not saying anything against, that per se. Since everybody has to be offended these days, even the people that swore that they were like inoffendable, right? Like everyone else is being. You ever notice that? The people that go around saying everyone else is too sensitive are the first ones to be offended by the tiniest, pettiest little stuff. And it's like, that's really what you're worried about? With all the problems in the world today. Possibilities. Was that Chris Rock when he was talking about, the New Jack City movie, and it was like, if somebody steps on your Pumas, let it slide. You know what I mean? Because when that came out, people couldn't even sit in the movie theater together. It's like, come on now. But when we can, what are the possibilities? What are the possibilities? Have you ever studied mathematics? Have you ever heard of exponents? Doesn't that just look nice? Just to walk through it. I think that's considered like an English garden. I'm not really sure. all those hedges and things. Which I was working on mine the other day, but it got, again, so hot. I had to take a break, and I also ran out of room in my receptacle, and they hadn't picked it up yet they must have been busy. Because usually those dudes are picking that stuff up in the morning. They didn't even come by until, oh, it was late afternoon. Late afternoon. And I thought, man, they got a lot of stuff they're picking up from these people's yards, and it's so hot. Like, oh my God. So, again, I used to have a little thing out front of my, I had a cooler out last season, I believe, with some waters and stuff. And, they would take them, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just ungodly. Anyway. And I mean, what is it? I know some people are like, oh, well, the environment. Well, somebody's still delivering your junk mail, okay, in this heat. So have pity on them and put out a little cold plastic water bottle for them to snatch. You know what I mean? If that's in your budget to do so, okay? Oh, the environment. Okay, how many times have you been on a plane? What kind of carbon footprint is that? Oh, but the rules for thee and not for me, people. How some of that comes across. You know what I mean? I'm not saying everyone's perfect. Definitely not. Speaking of travel, somebody could be going on a honeymoon. Maybe that potion you're putting on is working. Maybe it's a love potion. Maybe you're getting some new cologne. Maybe you're going to Sephora or Ulta or the mall, wherever, right? And getting some new smell, right? Honeymoon phase. Attending someone's wedding. So, is it yours, collective? So I don't know for the last person who commented in the chat if that's the love guidance that you're looking for. Yes. I'll be with you shortly. Yeah. She's like, you showed him. I can't believe you didn't show me. There's she. Can you see her? There she is. Miss America. Yes. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, I'll be done in a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can tell you're ready for another snacko. She did eat some of her dry food, so you gotta make sure they eat that dry food, man, or else they'll just be living on them treats. Ooh, move on. Someone is unavailable, a waste of time. It's OVER. Dunzo. Right? So, that could be what somebody is contemplating. That could be collective, what some of you may need to contemplate. Especially if they're acting this way. Okay. Because again, this trunk here, you deserve someone who's reliable. You deserve someone who's stable. You deserve someone who's loyal. Someone who's loyal. Is that what's going on here for somebody? This is somebody's message. And what I'm afraid of, collective, is, like this owl here in the trunk, is that, you were there thinking like, oh yeah, this is like, it was a couple readings ago. Like I said, I was like, oh wow, they really had me with both feet in, didn't they? You know, sometimes we are sold an illusion of this, right? So, you know, finding out what's real and what is not, okay, sometimes takes that contemplation, but for somebody, the message is definitely to move on because that person is wasting your time. All right. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I have a little itch on like the bottom of my, down by my heel right now. Probably need to lotion that. They're talking about dahlias. Okay. Caution. It says find out more information. Don't overwork yourself. Isn't that the great thing about the internet these days? You don't have to drive to 10 different stores. You can go online and look from the comfort of your own home, right? Before you waste your time tooling around town. Okay? So don't overwork yourself, especially, you know, in this kind of heat. You know, and I was also getting this for somebody, whoever it is that you're with is very much about wanting to go and be seen at events and things of that nature. Whereas you collective are like, I want to rest. It's hot out. Maybe, you know, you're like the postal service where you're just like, look, you know, the last thing I want to do is go spend more time out in the heat. I need to nourish myself. Okay? So, you know, before you agree to do something, right? Well, is there going to be water available? Is there going to be shade available? Some of this is just for your own health. They said somebody had a heart attack on that small world ride down in Disney. But have you ever been to Disney? It gets hot. I can't imagine the heat in the summertime. I went there in the spring. It's hot enough. It was hot enough. No, it is not the right time. So collective, you might be getting some warning signals in a dream about this not being the right time, especially if you are seeing animals or insects in your dream, okay? This might, again, be encouraging you to kind of clean something out. You know, do you have something that once belonged to somebody that you're no longer in a relationship with? Do you, you know, just stuff like that, you know, or do you have, you know, maybe some old clothes that you haven't worn in ages and you don't plan on ever wearing, okay? You know, maybe that's the time where you need to start, you know, listing those things on one of those resale sites, or, you know, take it to a thrift store for donation, or a consignment shop, right? And maybe you can make some bucks back on it, right? Whatever the case, okay? Interesting. Interesting. Some of you have a guardian angel, right? Some people don't like to listen to their guardian angels. They like to listen to other things and think they know better than everybody, right? Okay, so again, when you're contemplating, ask for guidance. Ask for guidance from your higher power. Okay. Um, Same with WWJD. Okay. Somebody said, if you could receive any Christmas gift, what would make you the happiest? Here's a question for you. If you could ask, say, God, Jesus, whoever your religious idol or icon is, okay? If you could ask them for guidance, what would you ask them? Oh, here's the thing. Through prayer, you can. You might even get an answer. You might get an answer through the dream state, through the scientifically proven dream state. You might get an answer saying, no, that person's not for you. You might get an answer saying, time to move on from that person. Because collective, you still have this honeymoon card here. So I feel like for some of you, and this doesn't even have to be like, you could already be in another relationship, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your relationship, but there's something that hasn't been fully cleaned out yet, and that's something collective that sometimes when people go through counseling, when people go through therapy, then they start to understand what exactly needs to get cleaned out. And maybe for you it was, oh, well, me and so never got married, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, but do you want to be married to so and so now? Well, no. Okay. Well, release that. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right person. It wasn't the right place. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Okay? It's kind of like my Insert Woman Here song on my, which I still need to finish, by the way. I have a few songs that are need finishing. But some people think they can just, oh, you don't have a man? Well, here's one. Right? And I think a lot of us collective, once we get to a certain age, I don't think that it's necessarily about settling. I think it's about realizing that life isn't perfect. So we try things with people who appear, right? They appear to us to have that loyalty, to have that stability. And then we might find out they don't. We might find out they're not very reliable. The YouTube short I was watching today was of a man complaining on TikTok about menopausal women. Making money complaining about menopausal women. Anyway, can you mansplain it any more than that? He's helping the men, though. He's going to be helping some of these men into a friggin' divorce if they listen to him, is what's going to happen. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Because he was literally sitting there making a video saying, my wife talked to me about needing help with all this stuff, and then I was sitting there watching a movie with our son, and she was talking about all the laundry she had to do, and I told her I could fold the laundry. There's a difference that, a lot of people can do a lot of things, but do they actually do them? And the fact that she had already talked to him, and he's sitting there admitting, well, she already talked to me about all this stuff that needed to be done. You know, it's like, so then why does she need to explain it to you again? You know, if you sound out the word menopause, it kind of sounds like men on pause. And I don't even think his wife was really menopausal yet. You know what I mean? Like, just wait. Um, what is the phrase for that? Something about incompetence. It's like fake incompetence, right? Oh, well, he just didn't understand you. Really? I bet if his boss at work had told him something like that. Well, hey, boss, guess what I did? Yeah, you don't even have to ask me again, man. I heard you the first time, right? Because they're looking to get that promotion because it means more money and, right, and all these kind of things. You got that go getter attitude. But oh boy. Well, honey, I can fold that. It's like, it makes me wonder, did she come by like on her next trip through the house, right, and just dump it on, and just dump the whole basket on him? Like, here you go. You know, again, you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's like, I think she already articulated that to you, sir. And that's what the commentator was making the point. You know, where she found this it was basically a, you know, kind of like a reaction video, but she does all sorts of content. But yeah, he was a special one, all right. Uh but you know, for whatever he's selling his ebook for to you guys, you too can soon be on the heels of a divorce, of a divorce. Tammy Wynette, okay? Intuition. The red flags you ignore now will come back to bite later. Yes. When they say you cannot change somebody, that is exactly what it means. Right? So if they're exhibiting those red flags now, you really think that's going to change after the honeymoon? After the kids are here? No, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. All right. So, you know, if they're not in that commitment, if they're not in like Flint, you know, like they need to be, okay? If they're not there looking at all the possibilities like you are, and open to receive the guidance, you know, I mean, because I'm assuming a lot of these people actually got married in a church under the witness of God and everything. I don't remember in the marriage vows where it says, yeah, you get to sit on your ass and watch your wife suffer. Some people be like, well, what if she doesn't work outside the home? Well, what if she does? What if she does? You could say it's getting serious, right? You ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? You could say things are getting serious. So maybe you two will find your LaFonda. Okay. Remember when she gets off the bus and she gives him that big chain? She's like, here you go, baby. You're a real thug now. So, say things are getting serious. Anyway, yes, he was spending loads of time on the computer in the chat room talking to his internet girlfriend, right? Like that movie at the time, that was like on the precipice before we were really like in the mesh with the internet in our lives, right? Where it was like meeting someone online was an option, almost a taboo thing. Again, you know, stranger, you know, I mean, stuff like that. Okay. But the right person, okay, you can plant those seeds. You can plant that commitment together, right? You can watch it grow. You can, like, just like these beautiful gardens back here. She was pointing out one of the trees earlier. She was like, this was planted, blah, blah. That's what they do. They grow, right? You grow into the possibilities. You grow with the possibilities when you are committed, right? And when what? What do they say in the church? When you put God first, okay? When you think of universal law before yourself, right? Isn't that what they teach in all these little superhero movies? Okay. You know, when Peter Parker learns that it's a privilege to be able to serve others. It's like, well, your other option is not being able to serve others. It's like, man, that would kind of suck. But what does that require from him? It requires a commitment. So, you know, when he becomes Spider-Man, right? It's like, oh, this is serious. This is serious. Like there's something bigger going on, right? Again, new ideas, hope, open-mindedness. Okay. So this is kind of reminding me of a web a little bit, and just with the geometric design and things of that nature. Okay. So, you know, Peter's life isn't perfect, right? It's far from it. But he has the wherewithal. He's determined to understand his know-how. And he kind of already has a why. Right? He kind of already has a why. All right. So, you know, the example of Peter Parker, the character of Peter Parker is there to teach us. All right, then that even someone ordinary can do very extraordinary things in life given the right tools and the right opportunities. And that takes commitment. Once he realized he had that gift, he was like, yeah, I kind of got to be committed to this. It's like, I got to do the right thing. Okay? So, and for every no, there is a what? There's a yes. Ladybug. I love ladybugs. Luck is on your side. You know, that's one thing that I used to see so much more of growing up was ladybugs. Now it's few and far between. But again, maybe like the monarch butterfly, the ladybug can make a comeback. Okay, given the right seeding opportunity. All right? New ideas, hope, and open-mindedness. Okay. All right. I think that's all I have for you guys today. I'm already over an hour, and I didn't even pull a single regular old tarot card. So if you're looking for regular tarot, you might want to look back a reading or two, especially the one for Virgo. It came through as a Virgo centered reading. So if you're looking for signs, definitely go out to the live tab and scroll down, and you will find some of the signs highlighted as the messages come through. Okay, so remember, not every reading is for everybody. You know, you have to understand that and learn how to put things into context. And I feel like, you know, the reminder here of Beatrix Potter's birthday, okay, encouraging us to read more, understands that things need to be put into context, okay? Um, sometimes to make actual sense, right? And too many people want to, make sound bites, if you will. All right, and it's like, yeah, yeah. All right. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you for those who are left in in the chat. I know this has been a long read. Thank you for those who have already liked the video. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber to like the video, but it does help the channel, and you can become a subscriber, and it is the 100% free way to support the channel. You will never pay for a reading here on YouTube that is uploaded only with your time and whether or not you are a premium YouTube subscriber, right? So if you have YouTube Premium like I do, and that means you get stuff ad free, which I personally like. And then also, and no, I'm not being paid to tell you this. And also, you get a ton of cool movies on YouTube that you can stream for included in your subscription. Okay, which range from classic to modern, all genres. I'm personally digging it better these days than what's available on Netflix. I go back and forth with Netflix. I have for years on that. I liked Netflix when it was the actual physical stuff. When they would I mean, there was a time when we actually got, DVDs in the mail from Netflix. And then we put them back and returned them anyway. So kind of like going to the video store versus all the digital downloads today. But that's when more people went to the movie theater too. I think during that time. So it's just so easily accessible to get information these days. It's a different world, and it's funny because I heard about some of these things when I was younger. I heard about how you can you'll just be able to turn on your TV and pick anything you want. Yeah, that's reality now. When I was first told that when I was younger, I was like, okay, and here I grew up only having 3, 4, or 5 channels tops to choose from the antenna. So I'm not saying that was some kind of crime or anything. I'm just saying that technology has changed vastly. And sometimes it changes us as well, our behavior patterns and things of that nature. But what we shouldn't forget about is, how we nourish ourselves. Okay, so use that technology to your advantage. All right, by finding out more information. Now, don't overwork yourself. That's one of those things where, it used to be, oh, well, what did Siskel and Ebert give it? And then based on that, we'll go see the movie. Now, there's probably like 10 different reviews out there. You could easily go and look and see, like, oh, is this going to be for me? Right? Do I want to spend my hard-earned money on this film? And, that's one option, right? In a nutshell. Anyway, not to harp on stuff like that. So, lots of messages in the ethers right now. Definitely, if that's something that you've been feeling, okay. Don't think you're, and it's like you could say, well, I pray every day, and how come I'm not hearing what I need to hear? Pay attention to your dreams. That's the easiest way. That is the easiest way for those messages to come through, because you're not driving your car, you're not sitting in class, you're not at work busy trying to focus, right? If some of these downloads came through at that time, those would be very hard things for some people to process. That's why they come through in that dream state. All right, and this could be one of those things where you keep a little notepad by your bed, You know, maybe, and me personally, I woke up a couple times last night. I think it's because I had some business to transact this morning, so I was a little nervous about. I just get anxiety, you know, before those things, and so I was up like at 2 a.m. and then I was up like at 4 a.m. and I was like, oh gee, that's just because of this thing, you know. And then once that was done, you know, once that task was complete, I was able to rest, right? And then you're able to, you know, put yourself again closer to that REM state. All right. The precogs from Minority Report. Just kind of anyway. I don't know if any. That was a pretty good movie, actually. I don't always like sci-fi type stuff, but I thought that was pretty good. So, you know, but remember, it's like they're like laying in this like Jello or something. But that's how you're supposed to feel in that dream state. Like just relaxed and letting things come through, and where it's not overworking your nervous system. Okay. So for some of you, if you haven't, done some of this clearing or whatever, maybe you need to do that, and that's going to help you get to, the answers you need. Okay. Because, when you're in the middle of, driving your car from here to here or whatever, maybe you don't need to be getting that message right now. That's going to be a no. You don't need to be getting that message right now. Once you get home, once you're relaxed, okay? That's why when you get home from the store, right? And you're sitting there and it's like, oh, I forgot such and such. Well, why did you think of that then? Because you're now relaxed. Okay? So don't take it as some kind of personal failing. Understand that that's your body kind of protecting you, all right, from unnecessary stress. Okay? Because just as Martha Stewart's mother did when she was making that French toast, I mean, oh, well, if you had cream in there, okay. If you had milk in there, okay. If you had half and half in there, okay. We're going to make it work, right? Sometimes, letting yourself stress over those kind of things is definitely not worth it. Okay? Okay. All right. I think that now concludes the reading for the day. So please do manifest wisely in the meantime. Bye-bye.